I listen, I'm a Christian. My savior is a Jew, and that's Jesus. And so
Is that why you have a cross around your neck? I thought you were maybe virtue signaling. You're actually a Christian? Huh. Okay.
look, I have no problem with Israel. I think they're doing great. They're a great country, as well as many other countries are. And criticism about anything is something.
So you're against the wars, but you also have no issue with Israel that's taking a lot of our money to do wars and kind of pushing us towards getting involved in war ourselves. I want to pretend like I'm anti-war, but I don't want to appear as if I'm anti-Semitic, so I can't criticize Israel. So I have to say, you know, Israel has a right to defend itself, and it's a great country. I love Israel, but I'm also against war. Okay.
I have a pretty good reputation of criticizing things that I think are wrong. And you referenced where I've been accused of anti-Semitism, but that was a headline, and it was not the actual story. So you may have your facts wrong there on that. I'm not anti-Semitic. Not a single bone in my body is anti-Semitic. As a matter of fact, I think that one of the problems in this country is.
To be clear, I wouldn't be surprised if she isn't anti-Semitic, or if she is anti-Semitic, because this woman is an empty vessel. She will pretend to be whoever she feels that she needs to be to pander to a particular audience. So if she needs a bunch of anti-Semitic people to vote for her, then she will virtue signal and use a little bit of doublespeak and so on and so forth. If she's talking to an audience like on TYT and she wants to pretend to be on their side, well, she will not be anti-Semitic. Curious.
Do you remember when Bill Maher had dinner with Donald Trump and then he came back and he was like, oh, Donald Trump actually kind of nice? Well, that's exactly what happened here. Only this time, Donald Trump was Marjorie Taylor Greene and Bill Maher was Cenk and some people in the TYT audience.
Constantly accusing people of all kinds of hate, whether it's anti-Semitism, racism, being homophobic, all of these things. I think that what we need to focus on is that we're all people, and making sure that we remember that humanity is something that's extremely important.
We are the world. We are the people.
And that's why we're having this chat tonight, is because we're both against all of these wars. And we need to make sure that we can take a stance in America that we don't want to be involved. We don't have to be involved. We don't have to be involved in every single conflict. And we don't need to go out and fight wars on behalf of foreign countries. As a matter of fact, we need to fix our problems at home.
Okay, well, I was going to go to the next topic, but you brought up that it was a false headline. So you're right, we have said some bad things about you. There's no question about that. And so, and it started with that issue of the space lasers, right? So you brought it back up.
Yeah, but I never said Jewish space lasers. So that's a lie. Yeah, it's a lie. And I really am tired of people perpetuating the lie.
So what do you mean you didn't say it? I'm trying.
Most of you listening should recognize this as the oldest trick in the book. When accused of something and you focus on the exact wording, you don't want to discuss what you actually said. You don't clarify what you actually said. You don't go into detail or further context. You just simply deny that you didn't say those words. And this works very well because you might have said a different variation of those words. So therefore you can accurately say, I didn't say those words, right? And make the conversation about those words. I didn't say that, right? Now, if Cenk had any integrity or any sense, he would follow up with, what did you actually say? I mean, he's kind of pretending like he's following up, but is he? Let's see. This is the guy who pretended to run for president, which sounds like exactly the kind of scheme that this woman would do, like a fake impeachment. But anyway.
Try to clear it up.
I never said that. I've never said that statement in my life, but there was someone that wrote an article.
Notice the word choice. I've never said that statement, right? What did you say? Is Cenk gonna ask her? Is this a real interview?
And that was the headline, and that's what they created. It was in early January of 2021 when I first came into Congress. And so it was an entire hit piece against me. And it was a statement I had never said in my life and never even heard of it until I saw it trending on Twitter attached to my name.
So that was...
In my experience, an overwhelming majority of times when people talk about a hit piece, it's usually not so much a hit piece as it is someone's being called out, and you have a YouTuber that wants to align with people that like that person, so then they post a video saying, "Ooh, such and such hit piece." So that term tends to be very loosely used, shall we say.
Was not your Facebook account?
Of course, it was my Facebook account, but I never said Jewish space lasers, and I never blamed Jewish people or Israel for anything in my Facebook post. And you could read my Facebook post, and it's clear and obvious.
Okay.
Actually, the post is deleted, so kind of hard to read something that was deleted. And why would you delete a post that didn't do anything wrong? Especially a person like yourself who's not afraid to speak your mind, right? You say a lot of aggressive and nasty things all the time, violent even. So what is it about this particular post why you felt the need to delete it and then come on this show and lie about it? And then Cenk is reading these questions, so he planned to ask these questions, but he didn't bother to do any research. So she's allowed to so easily wiggle her way out of this. Like, the minute she says you can go read it, I mean, if Cenk even spent 30 seconds researching this, he would know that the post is deleted, so he would respond and say, well, hey, you deleted it. So what's really happening here? What is this exactly?
Are you worried about Elon's space lasers these days? Because they're like, I heard about this Golden Dome project. I know.
I would urge you to rewind this video and listen to that laugh and just think, what exactly are you hearing? Anyway, this video is a perfect example of what's wrong with American media. Now, if you listen to a show like the Young Turks and many independent left-wing media channels, you will be preoccupied with your focus on the boogeyman of mainstream media. Mainstream media bad, independent media good. I've been calling out that bullshit for years. Independent media represents the worst of our media in this country. There are exceptions, but overwhelmingly the worst, it's independent. That's where you find InfoWars and Alex Jones and Steven Crowder and Tim Pool and Cenk and Anna and the Democrat operative Brian Tyler Cohen, right? You think CNN and MSNBC are biased? Go watch Brian Tyler Cohen. Try to find one video where he aggressively criticizes the Democrats. Or try to find a video where the focus is not just on attacking Republicans or Trump. Good luck with that one. Here's the reality. Here's the truth from someone who makes no money doing this. Right? I don't make any money doing this. I'm not a social media guy. I don't post, stuff to my family and friends. If I want to say something to someone, I call them up directly, right? So I'm not interested in likes and followers and all this kind of stuff, which is why I've been running this channel authentically, raw, and truthful for years now, even though I know this is not popular. Left-wingers don't want to watch my channel and hear me call them out. Right-wingers, even more so. Centrists, no. Neither of these tribes have a home here. I've created a home for the very, very few who want to live in the cold, hard reality of life. But that's a topic for another video. Let's talk about the Jewish space lasers. And I guess my final point on the media is the problem is the for-profit. It's the capitalism that's the problem. Ironically, these left-wing channels talk about how bad capitalism is, except when it's applied to the business that they're in, right? These guys are capitalists, right? The Young Turks, Brian Tyler Cohen, all of these independent folks on the left, they're capitalists. They're running a capitalistic business. And that is the problem, right? These are the ones they want to tell you. I'm not an anti-capitalist, by the way. I see problems in capitalism, but I'm not an I'm not the one here saying capitalism bad. But they are. But yet, they themselves are part of that same corrupt system. And that is a problem with their content. It's not that mainstream media is evil. Mainstream media, to many of you guys who watch the Young Turks, is like Trump to Bill Maher, right? Bill Maher seemed to literally think that Trump was Satan. So he goes and has a meeting with him, and then he's surprised that he doesn't get punched in the face. So he's like, oh, he's actually kind of a nice guy. You guys have been listening to these dishonest left-wing media folks for years tell you how mainstream media is so bad and so evil. And don't get me wrong, mainstream media is very bad. Like, American media is toxic, whether it's independent or corporate, right? So definitely what they're saying is not that they're wrong in critiquing mainstream media. It's just they're wrong in trying to make them out to be the bad guy, like uniquely evil, right? Mainstream media is just doing what everyone else in the for-profit media business is doing, for the most part, with very, very rare exceptions. They're trying to maximize profit. And how do you do that? By maximizing the clicks. Case in point, going around saying that Marjorie Taylor Greene said, is talking about Jewish space lasers, right? That's a nice tagline, right? You know, pretending as if Marjorie Taylor Greene is some wacko, idiot moron who believes in Jewish space lasers is good for business if you're in left-wing media, whether you're corporate or independent. I wouldn't be surprised if the Young Turks was going around spreading that lie that's not actually a lie, which we'll get into. Because just like mainstream media, the focus is on getting the maximum views. They don't have an interest in doing research and understanding what they're talking about, which is why they'll go around and they'll all spread this idea about the horse paste or the good people on both sides, or the Trump said that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, or the Jacob Blake narrative. Every single one of these narratives were distorted and basically put out in a misleading way. And the danger of this is quite severe, because dishonest parasites in right-wing media, they use these incidents to frame themselves as the actual truth tellers. They will go and say, look, the left-wing media said about horse paste, but actually this thing is actually it's a pretty safe drug that's been around for a very long time, and blah, 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 right? Trump, the both sides thing, he actually also said that he condemned the white supremacists, and they're hiding this from you, right? Jacob Blake, there's actually a second camera angle, and blah, 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 right? Trump never actually said that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. He said they say he was saying that somebody else said it. Right? This has been happening for years. Left-wing media, left-wing for-profit media, goes around and spreads something that's not necessarily entirely accurate, but it's good for views and clicks, and they make their money from it. And then the right-wing media jumps in and they say, hey, actually, this is what actually happened. This is what actually was said, right? But let's focus on Marjorie Taylor Greene. What is the truth? Did she say Jewish space lasers? She did not, but she also did. What do I mean? What did she actually say that she deleted, that somehow Cenk doesn't know about? Well, she blamed the forest fires in California on lasers that were space-based, and implied that they were connected to the Rothschilds, a Jewish family. A family that, like Soros, is a common target for people who are anti-Semitic. Now, that's not to say she's anti-Semitic. But that is to say that she essentially did say Jewish space lasers. She just didn't literally say Jewish space lasers. And that is the lie with the truth that Cenk enabled her to pull over the eyes of his audience. So he is allowing this scumbag con artist fraud to con his own audience. Why would he do that? He's been running this media business for a very long time. He's one of the originals. So he must know by now how this works. He's not a new guy, right? So why would he bring her on, plan to ask her this question, living in the information age, and now we have AI even if you're lazy? So he's perfectly capable and aware of, how journalism works. He likes to critique journalists in mainstream media about how they're not real journalists. So he knows how journalism works. And he has all the tools. He has a whole team of people. You got AI, you got Google. So what's the reason why he would prepare to ask this question? He has it written down. But he clearly spent much less than 30 seconds looking into what she actually said. Why would he do that? I suppose the answer to that question might be similar to why he would seemingly pretend to run for president. The answer might be similar to the answer to why Anna Kasparian would go on Ben Shapiro's podcast, and when he starts the interview with something that many people did not pick up on, apparently, with him basically admitting how fake he is, and then she just sits there and nods along, which implies that she's also as fake, because he makes a comment about how the business works, and he was talking about basically being misleading. And Anna Kasparian, who's having an awakening about the truth and whatever, does she push back and say, no, I don't do that, and I don't. No, she's sitting there just smiling and nodding her head along. So the answer to all these questions might be a common thread, perhaps. What is really happening on the Young Turks? And the Brian Tyler Cohen and the David Pakman and the Revolutionary Blackout Networks and the CNN and the MSNBC and the Fox News and the Tim Pool and the Blaze TV and the American for-profit media. Very toxic, very dishonest, very misleading, and very much overtaken by propaganda, right? But they each will point fingers at, oh, it's the left, oh, it's the right, oh, it's mainstream media. But one thing that's very common is that you won't see many of these people, if any, in independent media, calling out the for-profit problem. Right? At first, they didn't really acknowledge the independent media problem, and now they're all acting like it's a new thing, like independent media has fallen off, and now it's all about corporation, and now it's not real media, it's this and that, and that. It's always been that way, right? It's always been that way. I've been talking about it for years, right? Independent media is the worst part of our media, with very rare exceptions. And it is absolutely a lack of any critical thinking at all to not be aware of this obvious reality. You have a bunch of people who are accountable to no one, sitting in their basements, getting on a camera, right? As long as whatever they're saying is getting them clicks, they can't get fired. Why would that ever amount to something better than corporate news that has very low standards? But they have standards. You can get fired, right? You can cross a line. Ask Chris Cuomo. May take a long time before they get rid of you. In some cases, they'll bring you back. I believe even after you've jerked off on a Zoom call, if I'm not mistaken. So the standards are low, but they're there. Who's going to fire Tim Pool? Who's going to fire David Pakman? Who's going to fire Brian Tyler Cohen? The answer is no one. So In what universe would these people end up being more honest than mainstream media simply because they're independent? Might they be more honest about certain topics than mainstream media? Certainly, but that's the game they play, right? You watch people like Revolutionary Blackout Network, and, you know, when it comes to Israel, all of a sudden they become real journalists, right? Like, for example, Trump could do the most horrendous things and they might not talk about it, don't care, have no interest. But something happens regarding Israel, all of a sudden they know how to do journalism and they can do research and tell you what the mainstream media isn't talking about, right? That's the game they play. Every part of our media creates this alternative reality, right? In that reality, they talk about the pieces that are profitable to talk about, right? And then they critique their competition for not talking about the stuff that they do talk about. Then their competition does the same thing to them, right? It's always the other guy. But the common thread is for-profit media, right? There's a reason why my channel is small. There's a reason why this video is not going to get many views. Take a look. It's probably have like 10 views on it, maybe 3 likes. And there's a reason why, knowing this, I've continued to be consistent for years now. Everyone else seems to be chasing trends and they will adjust and change up because they're running businesses, right? That's how capitalism works. You do what gets you the most profit. This is what it looks like. This channel is what it looks like when you just stay in reality and stay with the truth. A lot of people are not interested in the truth. A lot of people can't handle the truth, right? Right-wingers and left-wingers don't want to hear me, and centrists don't want to hear me tell the truth about how wrong they are and how captured they are by their tribes. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear other channels bashing the other side or bashing these people are dumb and we're smart, right? They don't want to hear me talk about how stupid we are as humans, including myself, spending all these hours making videos like these for no money and knowing that a lot of people are not interested in what I have to say. They want to hear David Pakman tell them about how great the Democrats are and how bad Trump is. They want to listen to Tim Pool talk about the liberals are so woke, right? They want to hear centrists, who are actually closet right-wingers, talk about how the left is bad and the right is bad, but generally speaking, somehow I always end up aligning with the right. And my main problem is the left. But I'm in the middle, though. That's where the money's at, right? Fake centrists, right-wing propagandists, left-wing propagandists. There's really no sustainable business model for objective news media in this country because propaganda has taken over. The American people have acclimated and adjusted to listening to propaganda. This is all they know, right? It's all they know. And that is the product that's in demand. So if you're gonna do this for a business, you've got to pick a tribe and pander to it. Otherwise, your channel will look like mine. No views, no subscribers, no likes. Good thing for me, I don't care about any of those things. I care about getting people to unplug, even though I know next to no one is willing to do that because it's uncomfortable being alone. I know. That's my entire life in terms of politically, right? I've lived my entire life seeing a lot of things I disagree with and not really being able to fully connect with people because most people kind of go along with the system and, you know, I mean, I don't even accept the concept of race. That's something so fundamental to our society. Everyone just accepts that as true. I don't acknowledge race. I don't believe in race. Right? But being that way is something that kind of alienates me. And who wants to be alienated? It's easier to just go along to get along. Certainly for business purposes, you definitely want to do that, right? But in social circles as well, if you're going against the grain, unless you're contrarian and doing it intentionally, like everything the left says you agree with, everything the right says you just, whatever it is, right? I totally mixed that one up. But obviously that's a business model where it's like you have a side that you attack, and then anything they say, you just say that it's wrong or it's bad. So it's not really about anything that they say in particular. It's just they said something, so you make money from opposing it, right? Anyway, I would like to end on this final note. Many people are going to watch that video on the Young Turks and be surprised that Marjorie Taylor Greene seems to be kind of normal. And I would urge you to consider that this is your Bill Maher moment. Bill Maher thought that Donald Trump was literally Satan, apparently. So when he went and saw he was just a human being, he was kind of shocked. Oh, he can act normal. Donald Trump's not a monster. He's not Satan. He does monstrous and satanic things. Not literally, of course. But he himself is not Satan, right? So, of course, he can change up and pander to Bill Maher, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene is not Satan. She's not a monster, right? Now, the Young Turks might paint her as such. Many left-wing channels might paint her as such. It's very profitable to present her as some lunatic right-winger, right? Like they do with many of these right-wingers. But the reality is, let me tell you the inconvenient truth. Left-wing audiences, left-wing influencers, and right-wing influencers live in a shared reality. No one else will tell you this. For the most part, with few exceptions, they live in a shared reality. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tim Pool, Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur, David Pakman, the folks on CNN and MSNBC, the audiences that watch the left and liberal media as well, all these groups live in a shared reality for the most part. The right-wing audiences are orphaned from reality. This is done by the right-wing influencers. What I mean by this is, a lot of these, with exceptions, right-wing influencers are fake. They know the stuff they're saying is lies, right? They are intentionally misleading their audiences, pretending the Democrats are communists and all this kind of nonsense. They know what they're doing. They know it's wrong. They know the stuff they're saying is nonsense. Again, with exception, there are some idiots over there for sure. But many, many, many of them, they know the truth. So they agree with the Young Turks. They agree with you, left-wingers and progressives, right? But for their own greed and self-interest, they will pretend to believe in the crazy things that they say, to pander to their audience for profit. They'll pretend to like Donald Trump. They'll pretend like Donald Trump's the greatest person ever. Right? They'll talk about, oh, America first. Like, whatever gets clicks. Right? The one group that is, they're not the only person that's sort of isolated. There's many silos, but the biggest silo is the right-wing audience. The right-wing audience is being influenced by people who don't agree with them. Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, Tucker Carlson, they don't agree with their audiences. It's all a show, right? Now, again, some people are going to try to take my statements as absolute. It's not. There are certainly differences in opinion between left-wing audiences and the influencers, but I'm talking about generally speaking. For the most part, they live in a shared reality. They agree on the fundamental details, right? With exceptions, of course. But the right-wing media system is filled with the most dishonest grifters and liars and frauds. Marjorie Taylor Greene is part of that. Some of these people are Harvard graduates, yet they'll go online and say the dumbest things. You know why? Because the people they pander to are some of the dumbest people in the country. I'm not saying that in terms of attacking conservatives or right-wingers. I'm specifically talking about the key demographics that these people target, right? Especially Marjorie Taylor Greene. She targets some of the dumbest of the dumb. So she plays the role. And then left-wing media, because they are capitalists, they capitalize on this, right? They validate the character that she plays on TV and act as if that's really her. She's a lunatic and she's crazy and she and she believes in Jewish space lasers. But the reality is, it's all an act. So she can come on the Young Turks and not do that act and do a different act. I am not Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I believe in wars are bad, and yes, and I never said that. I never said that, and it was a hit piece. And you know what? We should come together and kumbaya. And she is Bill Mahering the TYT audience. So let's see how many of them are going to come away from this dinner with Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, she's actually kind of normal. And let's see who else will point this out to you. This is Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. And to the 3 people watching this video, thank you.